restart after divorce.
Yes.
This is episode
16. I just told you that.
16. All right. So we're talking about stop comparing yourself to others. Before we start talking about it, I need to check in with you to see if you journaled or in the past
Of course
few
I
days.
didn't.
Oh, you did?
Of course I didn't. Of course I didn't. I never got round to it.
You never got
I
around
never
to
got
it.
round to it at all. Never got round to it. It was ridiculous. I was thinking about it a couple of days ago. I was looking.
Didn't do your homework.
I didn't do my homework at all, but I was renowned for never doing my homework. So it's not like I've changed over the years. They say a leopard can never change its spots. I apparently, when it came to this particular task, failed miserably. I used to journal when I was younger. I remember years ago clearing out my home, my mother's home, and I found one of my old diaries, and I opened it up and read a few pages and went, oh my God, I was such an awful child. Like, I wouldn't have liked me. So I suppose that's why we do therapy.
Okay.
I just couldn't recall just how pitiful a human being I used to feel as a child. And I think it had a lot to do with being a small academic child in a school area that really did not support academic endeavor. And to this day, I won't give the actual location, but the postal code I used to live in has, from insurance claims alone, the most burglaries of any area in England. So it gives you a sense about just what a fabulous place it was to be brought up in. Nonetheless, the journaling thing, we'll try it again at some point, even if it's just a few words.
Well, I did it every other day.
Oh, you did?
But then it was like a sentence about what I learned in the past, in the previous 2 days. So it made me think maybe I should do it more consistently. It doesn't have to be every day. It could be like, it's a nice way to kind of look back and see the progression about me.
But the question is, will you read it?
I think, I don't think I'll read it frequently, but once in a while I would go back.
You should do it did you do it in a journal writing or did you do it typing?
Oh, writing.
Writing. You should do it typing. That way you can use AI to then condense it and give you an analysis of how you progressed.
I've written stuff, kind of a journal of my classes. It's in the computer. So I guess, I know, like AI can give you a quick summary, right?
Amazingly, my girlfriend and we did an analysis of text messages.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, she did. We did a whole bunch of text messages and asked it to analyze what the dynamic was in the relationship.
And?
Anyway,
well, sounds fun.
It was incredibly perceptive. I was shocked at how well it actually did. Now, of course, the one thing I keep pointing out to her is that while you can use AI to analyze text, you can't necessarily analyze emotion if the emotion is not necessarily being registered within the body of that text.
Right.
So I've seen instances of late where we've talked about this and I've said, okay, that's great. I understand what it's saying, but it doesn't understand your mindset, my mindset at the time we said that. It can't see our nonverbal communication. It can't see our body language. It can't see our silences. It can't see our exuberance. It can't see our miserableness, if that's such a word. Misery, I think that's the word. Whatever it might be at the time, that is missing. Now, eventually, I'm sure there'll be AI models that just look at you through a camera and they'll be able to actually analyze what you're thinking and feeling. Let's go on to that. Okay, let's start comparing ourselves.
So I think as a human, we can't. I think it's human nature to compare yourself to others. Like, starting from, in school, like, the scoring system, who got, an A or B or how much, a percentage, what class. It's just, as a human, you just can't escape that easily because you're always compared with so many other people on like different things. Like, if you are in any sports, like who is the fastest?
Humans are naturally competitive. I mean, that's just in the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
I think the trouble we have these days is that we don't compare ourselves to our peers because, and once again, we bring this gorilla in the room up, because of social media, we compare ourselves to others we'll never meet. Back in the day, you compare yourself to your school friends or your family members or your circle of friends, right? Or your neighbors. Now you compare them to the person who lives seemingly in a glamorous apartment in Abu Dhabi.
Right.
And it's like, why am I not that person? It's like, well, that person is probably leading some kind of fake existence just in order to create content.
Right.
You're not necessarily being realistic when you compare yourself to people you've never actually met. You should focus on seeing the people around you. Maybe public figures if you want.
It's still not fun to compare yourself with others.
Well, you say that. I think sometimes you need it in order to inspire yourself to try harder. Sometimes you need to do it in order to understand. Like, I'll be honest, sometimes I think the person to compare yourself to most of all is yourself. It's like, look back on what you did and say, I'm never doing that again. I've always said that wisdom is an experience. It's the experience and knowledge to know not to do the same thing twice. Of course, Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So,
right.
If you compare yourself to others, yes, you're setting yourself up potentially for a fall. But then again, in environments like work, we compare ourselves to our managers, senior managers. It's not that we can't help it. It's that we look at those people, and if we're ambitious, we aspire to be those people. We want to understand what their journey was, what their motivations, their sacrifices were in order to allow themselves to get to the position they are now. I've always said one of the problems I think we face from a corporate culture is that when, for example, we're dragged back into the office, those decisions being made by people who absolutely love being in the office. Their entire life has revolved around their work. And as a result, they're not what I would call exactly a baseline for understanding what the motivations and the mindsets are for the average worker. And I think that can be a problem, that these people are very driven. They are likely to be comparing themselves to their bosses when they were younger, comparing themselves to the captains of industry across the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezos of the world, wondering, why can I do what they do? How do I achieve that? The answer being, you can't.
Right.
Like, they came along at the right time in an environment where it was nothing there. They started something new, and they were the first to do it, or they were among the first to do it, but also to succeed.
Right. It's a different time, yeah.
Think about someone like Steve Case. Do you remember Steve Case?
No.
He started AOL.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a long time ago.
Well, Steve Case, I'm sure, is a very rich and comfortable man now, and probably doing his own kind of things, be it entrepreneurial, TED Talks, whatever it might be. But he was the first at the time. He just got consumed by bigger and better fish as the years went along.
Right.
Also was guilty of overreach because of the whole Time Warner merger, that kind of thing. But anyway, that's not what this kind of podcast is about. But it is, if you compare yourself to someone like that, you could also say, well, he failed. But failure and success are so intrinsically personal.
It is.
That when you compare yourself to somebody else, what is it you're trying to compare against?
That's right. Okay, so I do have a story to tell.
Go for it.
So one of my friends is moving back to Asia, and she is extremely successful at work. She works with a C-suite, she travels for work, and she has the job that I dreamed to have as a little girl, because I speak so many languages. I just would just really love to travel. And then I came home and I spoke to my son about it. I was like, she is having this life and she's successful in a way. And then my son asked me, he's like, successful in what way? Financially, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, spiritually? I was like, she's successful in, financially, right? Career, amazing career, make lots of money. But the other parts, I'm not sure if she's
Does she
happy.
She married?
No, she's not.
Has kids?
No.
Oh, she's happy.
Or not.
Oh, no.
Because then I look at her life, I was like, wow, so I thought that success, that level of success would bring me happiness when I was growing up, right? Just make tons of money, have a great career, and just travel. It just sounds amazing to me. But then life happens and I have a very different life, right? So I have a corporate job. I have 2 kids, single mom. It's just, life just turned out to be so different. But I thought about what my son asked me. He's like, success is measured in different ways. Like you can measure it financially. You can measure it with your happiness. You can measure it with, other things, or mentally, or if you have friends, how do you feel? All these other things. It's not always about the money. It's about all the other things.
There are studies out there that show there is a kind of like sweet spot in terms of income, which if you are below that, you can still be happy, but you wish you had that much money. And then there's this kind of like, and it's not that much. It's
right. Used to be 70
yes,
before the inflation.
That's it. Now it's probably 100 or something.
Right.
But they show that when you get past that, you start to get increasingly rich. Now, I find this very hard to believe, but if anybody wants to give me $1 billion, I'll give it a try. I don't mind being a guinea pig for that one. You just aren't happy. More and more money doesn't necessarily provide happiness. I think in many ways it provides insecurity. What if all this disappears tomorrow? I've always pointed out to the kids, if we've been traveling around and we're somewhere like New York, and you would see a person on the street, and many times when I see them, I'll actually stop and give them $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever it might be. It's in my pocket, and have a chat with them.
Okay.
Not so much, I can't help everybody.
Right.
But the fact that when you're in a situation like that, you talk to that person and recognize them and understand they're not. Don't choose to make them invisible as you step over them or walk by them and they're looking at you. Like I always tell the boys, it's like you don't seem to realize that in the overall scheme of things, you are closer to being that person than you are to being an Elon Musk. That you are 2 paychecks away potentially from being destitute. You may have 6 months or a year or 2 years savings that could get you through. Regardless, you are always going to be closer to the man living rough on the street than you ever will to those people. I wish them very well. I hope my boys become gazillionaires. But I want them also to realize that comfort, security is a very tenuous thing. And there's no guarantees in life that things are going to go well. You have to work at it. You have to make the sacrifices. And I think it's really important that people understand that.
Yeah.
Well, this is an upbeat conversation, isn't it?
But at the end of the day, I think oftentimes I think we forget, like, wherever you want to be or wherever you want to go, you are exactly where you need to be. Just appreciate, show gratitude. We talk about it, appreciate wherever you are, because you can't change where you are right now, but you can change how you feel about where you are. You can have that gratitude and say, you know what, I'm just happy about everything that I have, or maybe just like that one little thing that I have, rather than like, oh, I wish I had this and that. Therefore, I'm so unhappy in this moment.
I mean, I think there's a lot of discontent in the world at this point. I think that's why populism is so successful right now. It's easier to blame others for your situation than it is to look in on yourself and say, how do I make this different? What do I need to change in myself in order to make this work or to make this better? I think there is an element there, as you said, comparing where you are to where you want to be, or comparing yourself and where you are to where others are.
Right.
You have to kind of have a sense of acceptance about your situation. It would be very easy for both of us,
Right.
given the fact that we're sitting here as divorced individuals,
Right.
to kind of just regret that it ever happened, or lament that it ever happened, or rage about it ever happened.
Right.
So many different emotions can be triggered by separation, by divorce. You just have to accept it for what it is and get on with it. To sit there and hold, and I think about one of your partners as an example, to hold that level of malevolence
Right.
over the situation he finds himself in means it's eaten away at his soul on a daily basis.
Right. Totally.
Why
Yeah.
is he not just accepting that the phase of his life with you involved in it is one of a co-parent, instead of making everything so confrontational?
Right.
As it is this week, just to let you know, I am house sitting.
Driving a minivan.
Minivan, yeah.
How exciting.
My
Accepting that part.
yeah, I'm not comparing. So I drive a Tesla with a yoke. So I have the yoke steering wheel. So I'm sitting there like this all the time, like I'm a pilot in an airliner.
Not this week.
Not this week. I'm back to a big wheel, like I'm driving
With no
fast.
kids in it.
No kids. It's just me. So, it's as I said to the lady when I dropped off the car on Monday morning, I said, well, I'm going to use the family minivan for a few days. And
How exciting.
And I went, hey, at least it proves I had sex. So
the standard is extremely low. I was like, it's not very hard. The standard is very low.
Do I compare myself to the people not driving minivans? Frankly, no. I'm past caring. Plus, I had the windows tinted so people can't see me. But
you see yourself, though.
Yeah, I see myself. And it's interesting. As I said, I'm house sitting this week, and I'm house sitting back in the house that we built together 10 years ago now. And it's a big multi-bedroom, multi-acre place, and it's not mine anymore. She had the money to live and stay there because she has a far better paying job than I do.
Yep.
There's part of me that could sit there and just mourn the fact that I lost all this, but that doesn't get me anywhere.
Exactly. You are exactly where you need to be.
No, I'm exactly where I happen to be. I'm not sure I need it. I happen to be there. It was interesting.
In a minivan, though.
Yeah, I tell you. But it's got so much space.
I know.
It's got captain's chairs in the back. It's rather slick in its own way. It does ride like a boat. I do feel that having stepped out of the Tesla, I was in a speedboat and now I'm in a yacht or a super tanker.
Yacht.
Yeah,
upgrade,
it's slow,
actually.
It's cumbersome.
It's like an upgrade.
But it's comfortable. But anyway, it's interesting. You are where what was it you said? You are where you need to be.
Yes.
That's an interesting statement to unpack. Do you need to be here, or is this just the way that the cards were played out in your hand and you happen to be here? I don't know if you need to be here. That implies that your life is a journey of learning. That you need to be here in order to understand the next part of who you are or what you're meant to be.
I do feel life is a journey for me. And I do feel like wherever you are, your job is to learn what there is to learn and then go on to the next lesson. That's what I believe in.
So I have this theory. There are two types of people in the world, and I may have already shared this at some point over the last 16 episodes. There are people who dive for pearls, and there are people who surf.
Right.
The pearl diver, I've used this before. The pearl diver actually has a plan. They will go to the depths in order to find the pearls, the things that they want in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be where they need to be, but they also planned where they are.
But do they really know where they need to be, or do they?
So much of our life that without wanting to get too philosophical about this, there's a kind of, you could argue there's a kind of teleology about the way that we exist, which is everything's happening for a reason, bringing us to some kind of final understanding.
Right.
I don't get that personally. I genuinely believe that our entire lives are just a long chain of tactical maneuvers. Even the strategies that we have, like going to school, getting a
Right.
university education, getting educated, starting this job, starting this career, finding a wife or a husband, having the kids, getting married. While they're great, they're visions of what you want, the actual circumstance of your immediate existence is always a response to events. It's always you acting on something, be it good, be it bad. But overall, it's only when you look back that you realize there was some kind of chain of events or there was some kind of pattern. And I believe the pattern itself is probably one that you're not even fully aware of. It's subliminal. It's working at a lower level based upon who you are from an emotional, non-conscious way. You have certain behaviors. You have certain ways of responding to events.
Yep.
As a result, you make decisions based upon that.
Based on your patterns a lot of
Yeah,
times.
based on your patterns. Those patterns are what determines what goes on in your daily life without you even realizing it. I personally am a people pleaser.
Right.
And I think I've spent a lot of time in my life trying to please people at the expense of myself. Now, the ideal solution is I change my behavior. But if the behavior itself is so innate, how do you change something that's almost impossible to change? You can condition yourself to do it.
We talk about this, about parenting patterns. It was extremely hard for me to change the way I parent. But it's about like stopping and then think about and reflect and say, am I parent the way I want to, or am I just taking on that patterns from my parents?
Yeah.
It's a lot of reflecting.
Oh, we learn from our parents. I was having that discussion this week with someone talking about the influence of my family. And I actually don't have any recollection of the influence of my family at all. My parents in particular. My grandparents, I think, have more of an impact on me. And I think there are just, you'll see it in certain behaviors. I'll open car doors for ladies. Men, they can deal with it themselves. I'll open doors for people. To me, these are just general standards of graciousness that were instilled in me at a very early age because I saw it in my parents, my grandparents, and more importantly, my peers.
Right.
It's not just that you learn these behaviors and compare yourselves. We're back to the comparison thing. Compare your behaviors to that of your mom or your dad or your nan or your granddad. You also think about their friends. You also think about the people you went to school with, the teachers, the people you saw through everyday life. The standards that you observed at that point in your life have a strong impression on imprinting your behaviors from a very early age. And I think when it comes to the whole comparing, because I think we tenuously are still on that subject, you're comparing yourself to your family, to your parents, grandparents, and peers. That models your behaviors. Now, in terms of the way you lead your life, I still believe strongly that what you end up doing is you look back on it. You talk about these moments where your life pivots for one direction or another. Ultimately, what's actually happening is you're just simply responding to an event at that time. Simple as that. At the end of it, as you look back on your life, or you're smart enough to actually look back more frequently than that, take stock of it so you can potentially
pivot,
teach yourself, find the strength in yourself to actually change how you behave to certain things. It gives you an opportunity to, once again, comparison. You're comparing your behavior in the past to where you want to be now. And you stop yourself, or you say, you know what, I'll keep doing it.
Well, I do feel most people do not reflect on their patterns, and therefore they are stuck in the old pattern. It is extremely hard to just pause and reflect and say, is there a pattern there? Am I doing my, my old pattern? Is there anything I need to do to change my behavior to create a new pattern that's better
Well,
for me?
do most people have time for it?
You
mean,
make the time.
that's kind of, okay. So I'll give you another comparison. When I go to the gym, I am supposed to stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I have never stretched. As a result, I am as supple as an ironing board or a steel rod. When
Well,
I go
it's
for a
not good for
massage, my
you.
massage therapist will always go, "Oh my God, you're just all knots." I said, "Yeah, I'm like a yacht." We're back
What?
to the yacht analogy again.
Right.
There are behaviors we should learn, but there are also the pressing demands of everyday life. They talk about if you can meditate, you will be so much better as a
Mm-hmm.
human being. Who has the time to meditate?
I do.
Oh,
It doesn't like I think it's like little things. You don't. It's not a lot of investment.
okay, share. Tell me how to meditate.
When I do an app, and it could be, if I don't have time, it could be 3 minutes.
Send me the app link after this.
Yes.
Tell people what the app is.
Yeah, it's the Calm app, and it's life changing because they have meditation just for 3 minutes. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like a half an hour meditation or an hour meditation. It's spending that time in yourself. You are investing in yourself. It's for you. It's not for anybody else. It's you're doing this for you, right? Rather, I'm sure people have 3 minutes rather than scrolling on your phone.
Oh yeah.
Or
I mean,
doing,
if we take away the amount of time we do scroll on our phones, we could save ourselves an absolute fortune in way of time.
yeah. So I do feel like you gotta be courageous and say, I am going to change my pattern, whatever the cause is. It could be like, I want to do it for myself. I want to do it for my kids, right? Could be anything, but you gotta like be courageous and say, it's time for me to change my pattern. It's time for me to, change my life or stop comparing with others and just do what's best for me at this time. And I know it's hard. It's hard to be courageous and say, you know what, I'm gonna change. It's the hardest thing you've ever have to do, right?
What would you say you've changed? What would you say, meditation notwithstanding, what would you say in terms of behaviors, mindsets, attitudes you have changed doesn't even have to be the recent past, but just in general? You talked about parenting style. Is there anything else?
I think with dealing with my ex, because I have, as people know, I have 2 exes, and then one is fairly easy to deal with.
You're only 5 away from being Scott Pilgrim with his evil 7 exes. So
5 away. Yeah, let's collect them.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
Let's not get too carried away.
Then I'm back to my old pattern.
But you'll love this, just as an aside.
Okay.
I was talking to somebody about my relationship history yesterday, and I realized, what's a really good idea? Do a process flow diagram of your relationships.
Why not?
Show the linear progression from A
your
to
pattern.
B to C to,
show your pattern.
Yeah, see if you can actually work out the pattern of your relationship.
Yes.
But it's like, because I should start writing down a list. And I went, no, we should just do a diagram. I think a diagram would be kind of fun.
You can do a Venn diagram.
But look at this. Oh, no, let's not do that. Venn diagram qualities in each partner.
Or you, more. We care about you, not your partners.
That's true. But that's where you do things like, we've talked about Myers-Briggs. We've talked about various personality tests. We've also, I think we started talking at one point about love languages as well, which I strongly recommend people to read it, but don't invest too much of yourself thinking. And this came up
as well. It's a dating app thing. They all have like, what's your loving?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that I realized that the simple and lazy way of responding to that, and you take the analysis and it says it's, you're a physical touch person or you're a words affirmation type of thing. What then happens is that you then say, oh, okay, well, if your love language is physical touch, then I will touch you more. The problem being is if you're not a physical touch person yourself, that's quite aggravating. to have to
Right.
constantly be doing
Oh,
that.
it's a
Because what you're
compromise.
doing is then you're actually doing things through rote. You're just saying, okay, if you want to be touched, I will touch you. If you want words of affirmation, I will give you words of affirmation. What you're not thinking about is what's going on underneath the surface, how you're supposed to connect those things together. That's missing from books like that.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people just, it's kind of being used like a user manual. So, or an IKEA cabinet assembly diagram. It's like, oh, you
Yeah.
need to screw this in. Okay, if I do
Yeah.
that, then things are going to be better. No, they're
No,
not,
it's not.
because you don't necessarily feel it
Right.
in yourself, and you realize that it can come across as somewhat bogus.
Right.
And if you don't feel it and you don't mean it, you can't sustain it.
But it sells books.
Oh, God. Well, it sells books because people are desperate for answers.
Yeah, it
People
does.
are desperate to try and
Sell
come
lots
up
of
with
books
something.
that we are talking about.
Yeah.
It's simple. It seems like a simple solution to bigger problems, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I took that book, and while I found it interesting, I realized that, as I said, the simplistic way of handling it is to then start applying the rules, the various ways of filling the tank that the book talks about. And I said, that's rubbish. You need to think about it in a far more general sense about what it is that actually drives you as an
Right.
individual, drives your partner as an individual, and how do you work around that?
But you spend the time, you got the book, read it, now we're talking about it.
I didn't get the book. It was already
Okay.
there.
Okay.
So I don't think that had anything to do with comparing, but it doesn't matter because we're not trying to compare ourselves to other podcasts. So it's just perfectly fine. I have no idea how long we've been talking.
Yeah, it's 32 minutes. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, so I mean, I think the conclusion of this episode is just
I
don't.
can't stay on topic.
Yeah, I mean, just don't compare yourself with to others, and then just accept who you are. I want to say you're exactly where you need to be, but then Lee feels that accept where you are, and then you'll be okay. So either way,
I think you have to accept where you are.
yes.
But then if you don't like it, work on changing it.
Yep. And then remember to like and subscribe and follow us either on podcast or on YouTube. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Take care.